Vamos, Rafa. Right, okay, I thought it started like that, a bit cheesy, but you know what? I don't care. Rafa Nadal beats Stefanos Tsitsipas in the final of the Barcelona Open on his own court, named after himself, Pista Rafa Nadal. So it's only right that he wins on it, right? I mean, if he'd lost, it would have been quite embarrassing, to be honest with you. But in all seriousness, it was a very good and enthralling final to top off what has been a very good tournament, the ATP 500 tournament in Barcelona. Before I go into that, though, you know what I'm going to say: smash the like button, smash the like button, smash the subscribe button, and click the notification bell to make sure you get alerted to all the new videos. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Your support is greatly appreciated. And let's continue to help the channel grow. Thank you very much. Okay, let's get straight into this. As I said, it was on the Pista Rafa Nadal court, and Nadal had a slight slice of luck winning this one in the end, but it was a really, really tight affair, it has to be said. Stefanos Tsitsipas came into this tournament the man in form, winning the Monte Carlo Masters last week. He beat Rublev, who was actually the conqueror of Nadal in the quarterfinals of that tournament, and Tsitsipas just looked so good on the clay at Monte Carlo, his first ATP Masters tournament won, and he brought that form into Barcelona here. And to be honest with you, he started off in that same vein that he has been throughout the last couple of weeks, starting off really quick out of the blocks and broke Nadal early on. Nadal, as most people will know, hasn't been his usual dominating self on the clay as we're used to seeing anyways. But look, his level, I think if he plays 70% of his level, he can still beat 98% of the guys on tour on clay, just because he is the king of clay, let's be honest, and he is the best clay court player ever. And feel free to argue with me about it, I don't mind, but you're wrong. No, I'm joking, but no, but seriously, you're wrong. Stefanos Tsitsipas, as I said, started off really well, and there was a tactic early on that Nadal tried to utilize, which he does utilize against pretty much everyone who has a one-handed backhand who's right-handed, which is hitting that lasso forehand, heavy topspin, cross-court to Tsitsipas's backhand, and trying to get it to kick on Tsitsipas's backhand and make it hard for him. But the difference between someone like Tsitsipas and Roger Federer, is that Roger Federer doesn't like hitting the ball at a height on his backhand like that. He really struggles with it at times, and that's why Rafa Nadal's had a lot of success in the past against Roger Federer. But Stefanos Tsitsipas, one, is 2 or 3 at least inches taller than Roger Federer, and 3, he actually likes that height on the ball for the most part anyway, and he was stepping in to Nadal when he was hitting that cross-court forehand. Now, that might be due to the fact that actually, yes, he is quite comfortable with it being slightly high because he is taller and he likes hitting the backhand on the up. But I think it's more to do with the fact that Rafa Nadal was not hitting that cross-court forehand deep enough. It was too short. It was dropping inside the baseline at times. Sorry, inside the service line. Sometimes just on the service line or just past it. Not quite enough depth on that forehand. I think he also realized that maybe he should have been mixing up. It was a bit predictable. So even when he was getting it slightly deeper, Tsitsipas was just ready for it. And he realized that, look, I need to vary up my game. And we saw that because then after that first half of that first set, he then started to vary the forehand, going down the line, realized I've got a lot of open court there. Let me go down the line, maybe a bit flatter as well on the forehand, give Tsitsipas less time, especially if Tsitsipas is going to run around the backhand, try and go into out, which a lot of Nadal's opponents try to do. That's the thing that everyone talks about. If you're going to play Nadal, you hit a into-out forehand to his forehand and angles that he's running and he's uncomfortable. You drag him out on the court and he's not able to hit that lasso forehand, which he likes to have time on to hit. So Tsitsipas tried to employ that as well, and at times it was useful. But look, Nadal tried to vary it up, I think, after that first half of that first set. And that definitely helped him because he broke back and then it was back on serve. The one thing that I would point out as well that definitely did improve as the match went on was Nadal's serve. I think at the start it was pretty bad. 2 double faults, I think, in the first set. And then as we went on, I think his second serve percentage in the first set, I'm talking about points 1 on the second serve, was something like 38%, which is really, really low. But for the most part, he brought it back up, and I will talk about that in a bit. But in terms of the actual first set and what went on, Tsitsipas's level was up here, Nadal's was kind of down here, and then Nadal started to raise it. Tsitsipas's level stayed where it was. I don't think he quite rose it, well, could rise it even anymore. And Nadal at 5-4, after putting it back on serve at 5-4, managed to break Tsitsipas, which was a really, really important game, I thought, because he broke him to take the set 6-4. And at that point, to be honest with you, I'm thinking that Nadal's going to cruise this. He's going to go for the second set, and yes, okay, it might go to a tiebreak, or no, well, it might go to 7-5, 6-4, but he'll get the break, he'll win. But Tsitsipas just, to be honest with you, has this mental fortitude, which I think I've been really impressed with, that when things don't go his way, he just tends to take it in his stride for the most part. And another thing that really impressed me was his returning. Now, in the past, I've been quite critical about his returning in the ATP Tour World Finals recently, last year, and also in the Australian Open at times. The returns just weren't deep enough. And also, he wasn't getting enough returns in, full stop. But in this match, and I've seen in the clay, especially against Rublev as well, he's managed to get returns quite deep and also get more in from what I can see and from what the stats suggest as well. So that's been quite impressive on the Stefanos Tsitsipas front. Now, that definitely put him in better stead, and that's why he had so many break point opportunities. In total, he actually had 13, only managed to take 2 of them in this whole match. Rafa Nadal had 12 and took 4 of his. Now, that second set was tight. Tsitsipas broke Nadal first, as he did in the first set. Nadal, though, managed to break back once again. Similar pattern to that first set. But it went to a tiebreak, and Nadal actually ended up getting 2 championship points. One was on his serve, one on Tsitsipas's serve, I think it was. And he just blew both of them, to be honest with you. It was just really poor. There was a double fault in there somewhere in that tiebreaker as well, which I thought, oh no. And also a missed smash. Yeah, just a couple of errors at times on points that you might think, oh, those are actually really big points. And they were big points at the time, but in the whole scheme of things in the match, it wasn't, because Nadal obviously came back to win. But yeah, he had those 2 championship points, blew them really. I think it was at, we're talking, yeah, it was just in the tiebreak, and you're thinking, what is going on here? It's just crazy. And Stefanos Tsitsipas was just playing really well, to be honest with you. He came back from those 2 championship points and put on a really good display. And Nadal just wasn't able to bring it back in that second set. We know that Nadal isn't fantastic at tie breaks, to be honest with you. And once again, that proved again here today. Well, I say today, a couple of days back. That is it a cause for concern for if you're a Nadal fan, potentially the tiebreak issue? I genuinely, as a Rafa Nadal fan, I do think that as soon as it goes to a tiebreak, I genuinely think he'll lose it if it's against a top 10 opponent, which is slightly worrying. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, I don't think it matters as much in Grand Slams, but in saying that, tiebreaks are now a big part of tennis, and you need to be good at them. And I think his serving is a big part in those, and maybe the big points. I don't know whether it's nerves or jitters because he's so experienced, but he just seems to be a bit tight at certain points in tiebreaks, and it might just be because he knows it's a little bit of a lottery, which for him is probably a bit annoying because he wants to be in control of those tiebreakers. Right, into the third set then, because Nadal and Tsitsipas, I mean, in this third set, and I've heard a couple of pundits and people analysing on it, and they said it was a little bit of the level maybe dropped slightly. I actually think the level rose even more in that third set. And I genuinely think that we saw a lot of fantastic clean ball striking. So, some of the points I was doing the live stream. So first of all, thank you very much everyone who joined the live stream. Not the live stream, the live stream. Thank you everyone who joined the live stream. I really appreciate it. Because to be honest with you, on some of those points, I was commentating and I genuinely could not keep up because, I mean, the way these guys were hitting the ball, the clean striking, it was just incredible to see. It was just such good timing from both on both wings, the forehand and backhand from both. Nadal really turned on his backhand from kind of halfway through the second set. Tsitsipas's backhand, I mean, he had to have his backhand turned on because Nadal was targeting it so much. And Tsitsipas's forehand we know is good, and Nadal, look, I mean, probably the best forehand on the clay courts for sure. So, yeah, both guys were striking the ball so cleanly, and I was just thinking to myself, wow, some of the rallies exemplary. We had a lot of rallies then when both of them coming into the net, which was even better because that's what you want to see. Tsitsipas would come to the net a lot more than Nadal, and we know that just because Tsitsipas is a lot more comfortable, I think, coming into the net. Rafa Nadal does have very good touch and feel at the net, but the one thing I'd say is that it's probably not his go-to, but he's got better as time has progressed. So we saw quite a few points like that, a couple of really good net points as well from both, where kind of like little, touch and feel points, and ending up with smashes or lobs or passing shots. Just beautiful. A couple of points when Nadal went to smash and Tsitsipas actually read it, managed to get across onto the backhand side and hit backhand winners past Nadal. Unbelievable. We also had some very good volleys from Nadal coming in, also reading the drop shot from Tsitsipas and then coming in and then managing to read the follow-up volley or a kind of passing shot from Tsitsipas to then volley to win. And we also had some very good points where Tsitsipas utilized the drop shot quite well. I think in the first two sets, he utilized it a lot better. In the third set, I think it was almost a level of desperation at times for Tsitsipas and maybe didn't utilize it as sparingly as he should have. We know that the drop shot can be effective if utilized in the right way. Novak Djokovic overused it against Nadal in the French Open last year, which is why he got completely destroyed. He tried to use it at 50, well, let's say at least 30% of the time, and that's not the right way to do it. You have to use it sparingly, and then it's effective against someone like Rafa Nadal because he is still very fit. And if he gets to the net, you're in trouble because he's very good coming into the net, finishing off the point. So what I would say is that Tsitsipas, on the whole, utilized it quite well. For the most part, it was a backhand slice drop shot, which he then dropped, and then he came into the net himself and was aggressive on it. It worked for the most part in the first couple of sets, but then, as I said, Nadal got better. He read it better. Tsitsipas used it a bit too much, but that's a good tactic for Tsitsipas to use. And I was impressed with the way he utilized it and the level of maturity as well we saw from Stefanos, which is really important. Now, in terms of a couple of the first serve and second serve percentages, because I want to talk about that, more about the win percentage behind the first serve and second serve, I think is the most important thing. So, because the first serve percentage, surprisingly, for people that were watching it, Nadal had a slightly higher one, 64% compared to 63% for Stefanos Tsitsipas, which if you watch it, especially the first two sets, Nadal was struggling to get rhythm with that serve. Now, behind the first and second serve is where it gets really interesting because I think in the first set, especially, Nadal behind the second serve was struggling a lot. 38%, I think it was, in that first set. Tsitsipas was something like 50, 60%. Now, the numbers completely changed throughout this match, and we ended up with figures that you might look at and say, oh, that's interesting, because behind the first serve, Stefanos had a much better first serve percentage, win ratio, sorry, win percentage even behind the first serve of 75%. Then for Nadal, it's 69%. Now, behind the second serve, though, Tsitsipas had a win percentage behind the second serve of only 44%. Behind, for Nadal even, 60%. Now, 60% behind his second serve after I was looking at it, and in the first set, it was 35 to 38%. Now, that is a huge difference that we're seeing there. So very, very interesting that Nadal managed to bring it back from there. But anyways, in that third set, Nadal managed to break eventually at 6-5 and then went on to win the title. Very, very impressive victory. Stefanos Tsitsipas actually had a championship point or two even at 5-4, but a net cord really helped Rafa Nadal there. It flicked the net cord and then almost p-rolled towards Stefanos Tsitsipas. It was a really, really tough shot for him to hit. And there was a couple of slices of luck, let's say, from Rafa Nadal in that final set, especially on the two championship points, I would say, for him to save even, and Nadal saved them in very good fashion. But yeah, 5-4 down, trying to serve to stay in the set and the match. Nadal got a bit fortunate. Tsitsipas will look at that and say, you know what, and I think he said something like, I was 2 centimeters away from beating Nadal, because if it clipped the net cord and then obviously dropped into the net, he would have won that. But he was quite gracious in defeat, and Nadal in the end sealed it to break Tsitsipas and win the final set 7-5. It was a complete marathon, by the way. 3.5 hours of absolutely brutal and brilliant tennis. It's one of the best clay court matches I've seen in a very long time, to be honest with you. I really, really enjoyed it. Can Stefanos Tsitsipas be part of that leading pack? Is he even above the Thiems and Djokovic's come the French Open? I think it still remains to be seen. We've still got Madrid and Rome to come, so let's see how he does in those. I think he is playing both, could be wrong. But yeah, really impressive stuff from Tsitsipas and Rafa Nadal. I think Tsitsipas has shown that he is definitely a threat on the clay. I would say it's probably his best surface, but in saying that, he's still very good on the hard court, and I think he does have the game for grass, but his toss needs to be better. You can't be throwing your toss towards you or kind of straight up and not having any momentum to go forward. It needs to be slightly in front of him, tend to come forward, hit through the serve, and then have your momentum, have that easy momentum even, to come to the net. He doesn't quite have that yet. So something that he needs to work on. His ball toss at times I could tell was completely off. Trying to go down the line, like it was way towards him. I was almost hitting it flat, that serve, because he wasn't able to get around it. So something he can improve on, and I'm sure he will do so because he's an elite tennis player. Thank you very much, guys, though, for tuning in. I think that's all I've got to say on this. The only other thing is I'm really looking forward to the clay court swing and the rest of it, and I will be covering the French Open in detail, day-by-day reviews, and also some live streams for some of the important matches. I really appreciate everyone tuning in, especially to a live stream that I did for this match. It was really, really good fun, and it was a fantastic match to cover, to be honest with you. Thank you very much, guys, for tuning in. And please, as I said, do remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It really does help the channel to grow. And of course, click the notification bell as well to make sure you're alerted to all the new videos. Thank you very much, guys, and I'll see you on the next video. Vamos, Rafa. Let's go, boys.